Hey everybody, welcome back to the Infinite Regression. Hey, I don't know about you, but I am coming off a craptacular day. Just a real steaming bowl full of turds. And what do I do when I'm feeling low like that? Well, many things. But the one that you're seeing, not the crying to myself or anything else. No, what you're seeing is me playing video games, because today we're going to play one of my all-time favorites, talking about a game called Air Fortress for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Let's get into it. Air Fortress came out in 1989 in North America, 1987 in Japan, and it was created by HAL Laboratories, or HAL Laboratory. Sorry, singular, not plural. But here's the fun thing. Like, if you are someone who has not really looked at labels in video games, you may have missed the fact that HAL Laboratory is quite possibly the world's only second-party developer. Because we understand first-party developer, that would be like Nintendo making a game for the Switch, or Sony making a game for the PlayStation. That would be first-party development. Third-party is someone who is not Sony making for Sony, someone who's not Nintendo making for Nintendo. But HAL Laboratory has had such a close relationship with Nintendo over the years that they have become basically their second party developer, to the point where, there are things that you would assume come from Nintendo that actually come from HAL Laboratory. Like what, for example? Like Kirby and Smash Bros. Like, these are some pretty heavy things that come from HAL Laboratory. Those are some big series for Nintendo that, like, very many people may have thought were Nintendo. No, are in fact HAL Laboratory. Anyway, so Air Fortress comes from that fun time before HAL almost went bankrupt, and then Nintendo saved it, and then they became really, really close, almost indistinguishable from each other. This game came from slightly before that time, so it often gets overlooked. Air Fortress is, I would dare say, not as beloved as many of HAL's other games. I don't think that's even a hard argument to make, because how many people have heard of Smash Bros versus how many people have heard of Air Fortress? No contest. Zero contest whatsoever. But here's the thing. We have lived long enough that we have seen people realize that Blaster Master was a more amazing thing than anybody gave it credit for at the time. And people have come around and realized, like, oh my God, this whole dual gameplay action where, like, it's one type of game when you're in the vehicle and it's another type of game when you're out of the vehicle. Guess what game also does that? Air Fortress. And it does it really well, too. As you've seen already, you start off on this little Scooty Puff Jr., and you're scooting through the skies, and you're blasting everything in sight, and, well, at least trying not to hit anything, because, super easy to die, and if you die, it's just game over and start back at the beginning of the level. There is a password save system. There is not a battery save on this one, so that tells you that it's a lesser loved game right there, just having to save with passwords as opposed to sporting the extra couple of bucks to get a battery into the cartridge. Anyway, but yeah, that password save for if you ever power it down. But if you don't power it down, it will automatically start you back at the beginning of the level that you were on, which is actually pretty forgiving for the time that this game came from. There are plenty of Nintendo games where it's like, that is as far as you made it. You died now. Start back at the beginning. Like, for example, Super Mario Bros. Look, I know that there's a button combination that you can hit and start back on the level you died on. Most of us did not know that at the time. Like, most of us could not afford Nintendo Power. Anyway, regardless, let's not get sidetracked. So, no battery save, only the code save, which is fine. I mean, Mike Tyson did that to us, is fine. Anyway, so yeah, you start out on your little Scooty Puff, shooty shoot shoot, then you get off it, and first of all, the buttons change because all of a sudden the thing that you were using to shooty shoot shoot while on your Scooty Puff is now bombs. Ho ho ho. Completely different. And you don't want to waste your bombs because you might need them. I kept forgetting that I had them, as you will see throughout the gameplay. It's been a little while since I played this game last, so I do not claim to be, in peak playing form right now. But, still love this game. Love it very much. Anyway, so you get off and you face all kinds of enemies. You go through these little slat doors. It's a really cool animation, although the controls for it are a little wonky. You have to play it to know, because it's just as easy to get in and then accidentally get out immediately after getting into the little slat door as it is to get in and then go the correct direction up the little elevator. But you get in those, you go up the elevators, you pass through all the things, you shoot a little glowing brain that shoots at you so that you can get to the big glowing brain that doesn't shoot at you, but that once you blow that up, then the place is set to blow, and you got to find your way back. It's like Descent. If you've ever played Descent on the PC back in the day, now that's a game. I might have to revisit that. That was a significant part of my childhood, listening to that lady say cheater to me when I typed in cheat codes, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to fly back through the same level upside down and backwards and find exactly where the exit is when it's like 12 turns that you have to remember. The amount of notes that you would take while flying through Descent, you missed it. Old times with video games where like you just had to like write it down on a piece of paper so that you could remember it later. Anyway, there's a little bit of that in Air Fortress. As you go through the successive levels, you have to remember, like, okay, when I get to this room, instead of going out the slat door, I need to go up this pipe, because if I go up that pipe and then to the left and then kill a few enemies and then up another pipe, then I'll get to my little motorbike Scooty Puff and fly out just in time right before the Air Fortress explodes. And then it sends me on to the next Air Fortress, and then ultimately to a big boss at the end of the game. So, yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot of action in this little cartridge. And here's another thing. It has an incredible soundtrack. I'm not kidding. It's really amazing. I can tell you, the record stores I used to hang out in, they play all kinds of things. And one day I came in, and this is how I learned about video game cover bands. They were playing The Advantage, which is based on the NES Advantage. And The Advantage is they're an NES cover band, and they cover the Air Fortress theme. If I can find a link to it, I should put a link to it in the comments. I might not remember to. Remind me if I forget. But yeah, it's a great soundtrack. I will not be playing it in the background or maybe I'll play it real low and hopefully not get content matched. But it's really, really good. Not just against games of this era. Like, my children they were for a while obsessed with Undertale. And we all know what it's like to have a child in the house who like thinks that Megalovania is the greatest thing ever. Yeah, I played them the Air Fortress soundtrack, and I'm not kidding. My children were like, this goes kind of hard. And I was like, yeah, it legitimately does. It legitimately does. So you've got this game that has multiple modes of gameplay, both of which it does pretty dang well. I mean, I'm not talking like, the shooting part of it, it's no life force, It's not great gradius. I've heard it both ways, and I'm always self-conscious. Gradius. I say gradius. Anyway, but like yeah, it's not one of those. It's not just a side scrolling shooter, but it's a pretty good side scrolling shooter for the NES. And then it's a little space shooter, similar to, going around levels of like Metroid and stuff. Is it as good as Metroid? No. Didn't claim that it was, but it is a little bit Metroid and a little bit Life Force and like a whole lot of fun, because Blaster Master, same thing. Like, it's not the most amazing vehicle game and it's not the most amazing get out of the vehicle game, but it's pretty awesome when you put the two together, you know? So, yeah, I wish that they would have done for Air Fortress what they did with Blaster Master. Because I also love Blaster Master. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great game. And I think that opening sequence for Blaster Master, if you remember, so cool. So cool. To be a kid in the 80s and to see that for the first time. Oh, yeah. To have that over again. If you could bottle that, you would be able to drizzle it on pancakes. Like that gooey thick of a memory. Too good. Anyway, so yeah, I love Air Fortress. I honestly feel that it is underrated. I don't hear people talk about it, and I love this game. I love this game. So, if you're with me on this one, tell me. Like, I'd love to hear that other people have played and loved this game over the years, because I've known about this one for a long time, and I've played it for a long time, and loved it for a long time. I've never beaten it. I should beat it someday. I should like really sit down. I would have to like. Is game saves cheats? Like, playing in emulation and then, using your own instead of like going, well, no, it drops you off back at the level. I could beat it without. I could beat it without. I don't know if I'll ever post that footage on this channel. It would take forever. You would not want to see it. It would be like the world's first 37-hour Let's Play of an NES game. Man, to think that I live in the same state as Arcus. He's my favorite speedrunner, by the way. Arcus. He's awesome. Anyway, regardless, Rambly, let's put a score on it. Let's absolutely do that. Okay, so final score will not surprise you. I'm going an 8 out of a possible 10 Samus's writing Grady. Yeah, because, you know why. It's a mashup of both games. It's kind of a little bit of both. Yeah. So it got chocolate in your peanut butter and peanut butter in your chocolate, and it's a delicious game. And if you have not played it, I would encourage you to. It's really fun, and you'll know what I mean when you hit play and you hear that soundtrack and you're like, oh, this is bumping. Like, this is really good. Anyway, so yeah, hope y'all enjoy it if you have not enjoyed it before. And if you haven't enjoyed it for a while, pull it back out and play. It's a good game. Anyway, highly recommended. It is one of the HAL Laboratory games I wish they would resurrect. Have they resurrected it? I haven't ever heard. Tell me if they have, because I would love to play it. Anyway, that'll do it for this one, people. I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.